My story isn't that unique. I got divorced 14 years ago, and at the time I was super excited to jump out into online dating. It was very new. I think we talked that back when Match.com, there was no app. You had to, log into your little laptop and see if you had any messages. So it was exciting, and I really kind of enjoyed it. And as the years went on, and I dated some good people, met some interesting people, but as the years went on, it just got cluttered and trashy, and now we're in this sea of spammers and trash and trying to wade our way through this.
Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, Life and the Choices We Make, the choices other people make. This podcast explores all things as they relate to romantic relationships, why we ignore or choose to ignore or miss the red flags like gaslighting, cheating, lying, narcissistic behavior, deception, mental illness, addiction, and so much more. Join me each week as we continue my journey into the modern dating world with my weekend rants, anonymous guest dating stories, and experts who share their wisdom so I can help you navigate the dating terrain. If you are new to the show or have been with me from the beginning, hold on tight for the Anonymous Andrew experience. Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. So today I have invited on a new friend. Doing this podcast, I have met almost 100 people, and some of them we click and we stay in touch. This young woman, his name is Katy, and she hosts a Facebook group called Debacle. And I heard about this, and I just had to have her on. So up next, my interview with Katy from Dating Debacle on Facebook. Enjoy, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Anonymous Andrew Podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. And today, I'd like to welcome Katy. And you're going to ask, who is Katy? Katy is... Katy? Hello, Katy. We might as well say hello. Hello, Katy.
Hello.
Sometimes I go into a long-winded introduction, and then 10 minutes later I say hi. Katy started a Facebook group called Dating Debacle! And I found out about Katy through another podcast, and then I joined the Facebook group, and I got to tell you, it's fascinating, and I really like it, and I wanted Katy to come on and talk about dating, because I think Katy has a lot to offer. So, Katy, tell us a little bit about yourself, as much as you want, how you came to where you are today, and the Facebook group.
Sure. Yeah. Hello. My story isn't that unique. I got divorced 14 years ago, and at the time I was super excited to jump out into online dating. It was very new. I think we talked that back when Match.com, there was no app. You had to, log into your little laptop and see if you had any messages. So it was exciting, and I really kind of enjoyed it. And, as the years went on, and I dated some good people, met some interesting people, but as the years went on, it just got cluttered and trashy, and now we're in this sea of spammers and trash and trying to wade our way through this. And, Dating Debacles came about. I'm just trying to educate people on this world, and I still think apps are great if you use them right. But people really need to be educated and to be safe, because they're kind of a mess.
I couldn't agree more, and that's kind of why you're on. That's what my second season is about. And you have a slogan which I thought was fantastic: is dating apps don't suck, people do. And
Yeah. Yeah. The dating app, I mean, listen, we can't blame Tinder, right? Tinder didn't throw a bunch of scammers on there putting catfishing people. They gave us a platform that's been abused. So,
yeah,
if you use apps to just meet someone and to use it just to meet up with someone, they're still good.
yeah.
It's like I said, a
And,
rotten apple spoil the whole bunch.
yeah, and each dating app that has been released over the years seems to find their own niche. So like Tinder used to be a hookup site where you just would meet somebody and it was just for sex, I think. I don't know if they've transformed or moved on from that. I haven't been on Tinder in 10 years. But then you have the other end of the spectrum is your eHarmony, where you have, it's supposed to be the elite and the Christians and the wholesome, but I think you find the scammers on there as well. And then everything in between, your Bumbles, your Matches, your for people my age, Silver Singles, Our Time. We could sit here all night and name all the dating apps.
Right. There's tons of them, but they're all basically the same concept, right? You swipe around and then you see if you can maybe meet, and you never do, basically.
Yeah. And that's a problem. You sit there and text for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I personally would like to get, if I'm trying to meet somebody, I want to meet somebody, not text for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm pretty quick to the meetup too, but I'm going to disagree with you on that. This one is for serious people, and this one is for hookups. No, they're all the same. I met up with a guy once, and we got to the bar, and he immediately just pulls his junk out and says, "I'm just here for sex." And I said, "Aren't you on the wrong app? I met you on Match.com." This has probably been 10 years ago, back when it was halfway decent. He said, "Nope, this one works the best for this." So, I don't think that one works better than others.
I heard that on the other podcast you were on, and it blew my mind. You're telling me that you're at a bar and this man unzips his pants.
Yeah, we were there maybe 5 minutes. Maybe. Kind of like, "Oh, you want to chat?" "Nope, I don't. Here's what I'm here for." And I'm like, interesting. Didn't I meet you on Match.com and not, back in the day it was when Tinder was getting the bad rap. But I think they're all the same.
Yeah, okay, but you just corrected me, so I believe that, because I can't believe that somebody would do that in a bar.
Yeah, and he said it works really well. Then I, was like, interesting. So.
As a guy, I can't even imagine doing that. So that's just maybe the way I was brought up.
Maybe that's what you're doing wrong, Andrew.
Maybe I should go to a bar and whip. Never mind.
It did not end well for him that night. That's all I know.
No, so did you say that's not for me, good night, and literally walk away, or did you continue on?
Well, I was hungry, so.
Okay.
He was an hour late, by the way.
No.
No, then I got interested in why do you do this? How does it work? Does it always work? Who do you find? Then I switched hat into investigator. So. That's
not a bad idea. That's something that I would see. I went on a date a couple of months ago and it didn't go well. If you had read the conversation leading up to the date, you would think it was going to go well. Yeah. This woman was totally into my pictures, and then when she met me, she told me that I was catfishing her, that my pictures looked nothing like my profile, and I swear to you, they're current pictures. But I would have loved to have a conversation, because of the podcast, interview her, but she wanted to get out of there so fast, so I took her back to her car.
I know it's not going well. I figure I can always learn something from whoever I'm meeting up with. That's the great thing about the apps, is you're meeting people you would never meet. I'm in healthcare. I end up around doctors and nurses and therapists and people that are in that world, the salespeople in that world, and that's really about it. I meet up with kids' parents, so in my kids' age, but there's a whole different industries out there of people you'd never meet. So that's the interesting part of it. So I always learn something. I never want to bolt out of there.
So, excuse me. So that brings me to my next question. So you must have not only many stories, but because of you opened up this group on Facebook. This dating debacle is for people to come on and tell their dating stories.
I really want more people to tell their stories. It's more become kind of a misery loves company place, you know.
Oh.
Like I throw my and I try to make it humorous, but I do also try to educate. So I put a lot of my stories on there. I wish more people would tell theirs, but yeah, I think we all just kind of laugh on there about the silliness that we're in.
Yeah, well, I of course, as soon as I heard about it, I jumped on there and I told my story. So I did my contribution.
I appreciate it.
And as I go into the dating, so as the audience knows, and I told you earlier, this is season 2. We're getting into dating, and it's a journey that I'm on. I'm talking to a woman on Hinge right now, and I don't know, maybe next weekend I'll go on a date. I'll jump on Dating Debacles and tell you how the date went. Is
Great.
That's what you're looking for, right? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been going out too much just because life happened, but no, I loved your stories. One of my friends recently, though, bad things happen to guys too. So he's an intelligent man. Preaching to the choir here. He's a very intelligent man and went out with this woman a few times. Business owner, they're both business owners. Anyway, long story short, he was sleeping over and she stole all of his credit card information. Yeah. And, they'd known each other maybe a month. And she actually used his credit card to pay for something, to pay for a remodel of her bathroom. And it was his friend who she was using to remodel the bathroom.
Oh, my God.
And the remodel guy called and says, "Do you know this woman is using your credit cards?" And she didn't steal the cards, she just stole the numbers, right? So he wouldn't know.
Yeah, and that's all you need is
Right,
really
that's all you
sometimes,
need.
yeah.
So he had to cancel all of his credit cards. My next call would have been to the cops, but he didn't press charges. I would have.
So you said that something about it does happen to men because something similar happened to me. I'm not going to get into the story because I've told it so many times, but I did date somebody who somehow found out that I was in the IT world and convinced me that her phone was hacked. And I have the Superman complex where if I'll go, the damsel in distress, I will come after you and help you. So I invited her down to fix her phone, but she stole my Wi-Fi password. And then her boyfriend, who was supposedly the ex-boyfriend who was stalking her, that's why she told me her phone was like hacked or something. They showed up a couple of days later at my house, and my landlord noticed it, and they were sitting in front of the house. And then I found out that night and a couple of days later that my Wi-Fi had been hacked. And so she came down to get my Wi-Fi password, and which I gave it to her. Boom.
What did she do with that? What was she able to do with that information?
So think about it. In your house, you have a Wi-Fi. So you have your iPhone, maybe your computer, your Ring devices, your Alexas, whatever you have connected to your Wi-Fi. You can get passwords, which will lead to your banking information. I don't know what she was after, but my bank contacted me the very next day and said, "We have suspicious fraudulent activity on your account, so we're alerting you and freezing your account." So, and then 2 days later, my Alexa was, she just turned on. My Alexa... certain things started happening in the house. If you know Alexa, you can create routines. So lights started going on and off by themselves. So anyway, it does happen to men. It does happen to men, and sometimes they work in teams. So this woman came by herself, but the second day or third day when she came back, she brought her boyfriend, who was probably the techie guy. So they bring the woman in to sweet talk me into helping her, and then yada yada yada.
So people suck everywhere, not just on dating apps. That's what I'm
Yes.
hearing.
Yes.
Yeah. The moral of the story is
dating apps don't suck. People do.
everywhere.
Where was the transformation from you being single, so you divorced 14 years and you started dating. What gave you the idea to create this group?
I had cancer, and originally it was my way of showing my hair growing back after chemo, and I wanted to do something kind of fun and lighthearted, and I was in this, dating, on and off dating apps constantly, so I kind of combined the two. Once my hair grew back, that part kind of went away, and it just kind of grew into me just wanting to educate people on what these apps are and how to use them, what to be careful for, and just kind of grew from there.
You ever think of starting a podcast?
No.
Okay.
It looks like a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work. But
No, my project is I'm trying to launch, I was going down the rabbit hole of trying to launch an app. And it's so, a non-dating app, how do you fix dating apps by making another dating app, right? Doesn't make a lot of sense. But the app that I'm working on launching, it's intended to get out and just see who's around you. It's not intended to sit on the couch and swipe left and right. It's intended for you to go to the gym, go on a cruise, go to a wine festival, and see who's around you right now. It's almost like the concept of if you walk in the door and you're single, put on an orange shirt, right? It just identifies who around you is single. So it's not intended for the swipeys. It's intended to get out, meet people, talk to people, even if it's just to say hi and learn something. It doesn't have to be some big magic meetup.
You would open up the app. I know the app isn't developed yet, but it's in development. You would open up the app and you would see that there's a party down the block or
Not really. It's really meant more for the venue that you're at. Think about you're on a cruise ship with your family.
Okay.
You're the only single one. This happened to me. You're on a family cruise, right, with 20 people. And you're like, hey, I wonder who else is on this cruise and single. Oh, and you could kind of look and see who might be interested. And it's like, hey, meet me by the pool. We could chat or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
all
a
about
great
who's
idea.
around me right now. It's not swipey and try to figure out how to get across the city on a Tuesday with your 3 kids. And this isn't working.
Okay. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because there's no expectations other than that you're single, I'm single.
It's an identification app. It tells you who around you is single.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And where are we in the development of the app?
Well, my developers are terrible, and I've been fighting them for 3 years. So now I need to just start over, but I kind of need some more money. So that's where we are.
As they say, you need money to make money.
Exactly. It's going to happen, though. This is my, the world needs it. We just need it. It's going to happen.
It's not different than my podcast. This podcast is being funded by me and my day job. And
Exactly.
I didn't know from day one what was involved. Yeah, I bought the microphone and a computer and some headsets. And then I realized there was a lot more that you need to put into it financially. Yeah. And so, you need money but if you stay at it and don't give up on it, hopefully it'll pay off someday. So
it's going to happen. It's just knowing when to start over, right? And I think I'm there. I think I'm like, okay, I'm just going to start over.
Okay.
I'll get there.
Any crazy, so you started this Facebook group. Are there any, I'm looking for some wacky, crazy stories about dating stories. I'm sure we can all go to the group and read them, but anything stick out in your mind?
I'm pretty good about cutting off the crazy pretty quick. No offense to you, right?
Oh, okay. So what do you? So maybe I'm misunderstanding the concept of the group. What is it? Was intended for you to come on and talk about your dating experience, but it doesn't need to be a bad experience, or?
You mean the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's all about your experiences. But I'm saying if I date someone 2 months and think this isn't going the way I want it to, I'm pretty quick to end it instead of let it get down the terrible rabbit hole. So I've run across a lot of personality disorders that I'm pretty quick to now recognize and just say, oh, interesting. No, not going to do that. People who are just avoidant. It's just knowing that I don't have any super exciting, awful stories.
Yeah. Well, the first part of my podcast was all about the red flags in the dating, and which I missed or chose to ignore.
Right.
And the term "love is blind" is a real, true statement, because when you're in the grasp of the love bombing and the honeymoon period, and this other person is waving lifeguard-sized red flags, you just don't see them, or you see them, but you say to yourself, that will go away, or that will get better, and it doesn't. It does not. It only compounds. And I think I heard a phrase that the red flags that you miss in the beginning of a relationship are the ones that are going to end the relationship. So,
Right. The last guy I dated him for a year, exclusively dated for a year, like a real relationship, in person, lived down the street, and he just disappeared, like after a year.
he ghosted you.
Well, I mean, he moved away, and we were going to try to make it work, try the long distance thing. And I put him on the plane, and he just disappeared. And then about a week later, I got a text saying, like, have a nice life. And that was it. And and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole of who does that, right? I'll tell you.
Who does that?
Who does that? And he thought nothing of it. Thought that was just the normal route of a breakup, right?
Well, if you, I think you heard my story and read my story. I got left in Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm on a vacation. I took her down for a 7-day Miami vacation, which I had so much planned.
Right.
On the third day, she abandoned me because she didn't like the way I drove back from the Florida Keys.
But then don't you go into like, who does that? Then I started.
Yeah, exactly.
Investigator hat. Who does that? Who just thinks it's normal just to disappear?
And then I took her back.
Personality disorders.
No. So.
Yeah. All kinds.
Are you on current? Might be a little personal, but are you on any dating apps now? What's your status now?
Yeah, I am. I've been really busy with work, but I do. That's a great thing about dating apps too. You can jump on.
Yes.
Go out on a date or two, and then just say, I'm gonna wait a month. So yeah, I do. I jump on. I'm on mostly Tinder and Plenty of Fish. I look at Facebook dating too, but I kind of do it backwards of everybody else. I like pick a day. I'm like, I don't have anything going on this weekend. I'll probably want to go out on a date. So I pick a day and see who kind of fits into it instead of trying to talk to 20 people. I'm like, no, I want to go out Saturday night. Let's see who's around and available. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I never thought of that, because I like you, will put down the dating app for a week and a half because I'm just busy. Oh, yeah. There are some nights that I'm finally done with my routine at night and I have to go to bed, but a half hour before I go to bed I start swiping. But that you do that at 9:30 at night, you don't get answers until the morning, or if you're lucky to get an answer.
I also know that if I'm not available to meet up for over a week, I don't bother. Because if there's not a plan and progression to me, it just fades away. So I don't bother if I'm going to be out of town or unavailable. It's when I know I'm going to be available, I'll jump on there and I'll go meet up with someone.
How many dating apps would you say that you've been on in your single life?
I'm not that. I kind of stick to a core 5 or so, but I did read that the average person is on 3 or 4 dating apps.
And that's
people get a little bit like, which one's the good one? It's all the same people. Some of them are a little bit different on what's important to you. I like that Plenty of Fish is pretty specific about marijuana and alcohol. I just like to know that. It also has a tag on what your kid's situation is. I like to know those things. So different apps kind of showcase different what's important.
Yeah.
But they're all the same people.
I noticed that. I am swiping on one app and then I go to the next one and there's the same woman. So yeah, I think you're right. It's almost like, why bother paying for 3? Just stay on the one, because you're going to find the same women or men in this case. So, So there are none that are your favorites, or like.
Not really, and there are some, some people like the ones that are considered higher end, like Luxy or the League. I haven't had great.
Oh.
That's not my jam. To be honest with you, I meet a lot of quality guys. I meet guys who are good people. They're just not my person. But if you're having that trouble meeting up with someone who ends up living in his mom's basement, it might be people you're picking and not the app. To be honest with you.
Well, that's funny you said that, because that's the other part of the name of my podcast is the choices we make. And you could be dating somebody for a week or 2 or 3, and then if you think it might be going somewhere, at the end of all my podcasts, all my episodes, I beg people to choose wisely, because
Right.
I didn't. My last relationship, I was just so blinded by this woman's beauty, so blinded by the love bombing and trauma bonding, and she cried on my shoulders and blah blah, and I just automatically I pulled her into my life, and 8 months later I realized I had made a mistake, but by then I'm on the hook.
Right.
And I didn't want to walk away. So you're right. It's about choosing the right person. But how do you do that?
Based on lies and deceit.
Exactly.
It's hard. That's why
It's
I
hard.
recommend meeting up sooner than later, because they can feed you a whole bunch of nonsense online. Much easier to ascertain in person.
So let's play out a scenario.
Okay.
We meet on Bumble. So I swipe and you match, and I say hello, and we talk for 2 days, text, and then I ask you, would you like to, and this is, I have to stop already. Asking to go off the app too soon is normally a sign of a scammer, because a scammer will always try to get you off the app. So if I'm texting you for 2 days and I think it's going well, and then I say to you, hey, would you like to chat on the phone tonight? I'd like to hear your voice. You're okay with that?
Well, I mean, most of the apps now have voice calling through the app.
They do.
So
Okay.
yeah, sure. If that's your jam, yeah, I'll do that. I'd rather just meet, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't talk to that many people on the phone. I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? It's like, let's just meet up.
Wow. Okay.
But people are all over the board with that stuff.
Yeah.
Some people, it comes down to, what do you consider wasting your time? For me, I consider a waste of time chatting for 2-3 weeks with someone who I might not get along with at all. That's my definition of wasting time. Some people's wasting time might be driving 15 minutes to a local bar to have a beer. So it's what your definition of wasting time is.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be a waste of time, because you meet for that beer, and then that could turn into a lunch, could turn into a dinner, because you click instantly. So.
Or it could turn into, he's kind of a cool person, but not for me. Like, I mean, at least you know, right?
Yeah. It's funny, about a year ago, well, it has to be a little bit of a backstory here. I used to be one of those guys that when the relationship ended, I wouldn't look back, and I wouldn't grieve, and I wouldn't stop and process. I would jump on the app. And I did that at the end of this last horrible relationship. And I met a woman, and she turned out to be 40 miles away. Not 40 minutes, 40 miles. So it's like an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
And we agreed that it was too far. And then I gave it some thought. I said, what am I doing? I'm still in love with my ex. But today we're friends. The point is that I met somebody, and we're friends today. We talk couple times a month, and
that's
she's
not
actually
horrible. You can't have too many friends.
And she was actually a guest on this podcast. I had her come on because she's now trying to find somebody, and she's struggling to find a man. She's telling me now, I guess you can confirm this. Do you find most men on the dating apps go right for the sex? Are they on there for the sex, or and how do you weed them out?
It's all over the board, but I'm going to throw women under the bus here for a minute. You can't put photos of your boobs hanging out and your butt hanging
Right.
out, and then get all mad when a guy says, "Hey, sexy, what are you doing tonight? Why don't you come over?"
Right.
So no, I don't get it a lot, but my pictures don't lead into that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I got to question some of that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. That makes sense. I just the only reason I asked that is this friend of mine. She calls me every couple of weeks and goes, "I met another guy and all he wanted to do was have sex that night." And she says, "I don't know why I'm attracting these guys." And maybe it's something.
You might want to look at her pictures.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen them recently, but when I did see them, they were not. They were not. No, they weren't provocative. If that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a guy probably messages 200 people saying, "Hey, sexy, you want to,
No.
Netflix and chill," and someone's gonna bite, right?
Somebody's going out of 200 people. Somebody's going to
Someone's
bite.
gonna bite.
If you
We do it 'cause it works.
if you state in your profile right up front that I am not looking for a casual hookup, does that tend to ward off those type of men?
I mean, I have that in mind. I think your
Okay.
profile as a whole either leads people down that road or doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my thought.
Yeah, because I am not like that. I cannot meet you tomorrow and then have sex with you tomorrow night. It's I don't know if it's old fashioned the way I was brought up or it's just not in my genes, but maybe the second or third or fourth date, but not the
It's got to work for people or they'd stop doing it.
yeah.
mean-
Okay. All right. The only other thing I'd like to ask you about, because I heard you say this, and I just thought it was kind of funny. You said on another podcast that you sometimes send the men that you're talking to the Facebook group so they could see who you are and that you're real, and that also helps you weed out some of them.
I do. I am not for everyone. I mean, I wouldn't call myself aggressive, but I'm not. My personality just isn't for everyone. So that's the reason. Go there and see who I am. You can see what I look like and all that. But it does kind of weed people out. And something else I've learned on that is I stopped asking guys out. I used to, years ago, I'd say, "Hey, let's meet up." And then I would meet up with very passive people. So I've learned to, if they don't ask me out, then they're probably a little too passive for me. And that also works for me.
Interesting you said that, because a month ago I interviewed a gentleman who created a dating app called Koi Amore. You probably haven't heard of it yet because it's launched, but it's not, and it's for introverts.
Okay.
It's for people who are not aggressive.
Okay.
So it just launched literally over the summer. I don't know. I'm on there and I haven't gotten one match yet, but he told me the database was only 300 or 400 people at the time. So, but anyway, the point is that there's sites. I think you're going to start seeing sites pop up that cater to the niche of, like you said, you might be a little aggressive or not aggressive, but he was a dud, and that might be because he's an introvert. Maybe he doesn't.
Well, I'm an introvert. I consider myself an introvert.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, I that's the reason I don't initiate a meetup anymore, just because I end up with people who are kind of afraid of their own shadow. it just won't work out. So.
Well, I think there's also the other side of the coin, and I sometimes dip my toe into this, is that men sometimes are intimidated by women who make the first move. It depends on what generation you come from, but where I came from, the man courts the woman, but that's my age. I grew up in the '60s. My father taught me that.
Right.
So if a woman comes after me, I'm a little, I think, taken back by it.
Okay, fair.
There was a woman that I was dating 2 or 3 relationships ago, and we quickly connected within a week or two. And on literally the second or third night that I met her, we were sitting in her living room, and she grabbed my hand and started pulling me upstairs to her bedroom. And I have to tell you that it turned me off, because
You're like, how many people have you done this with?
so, the phrase, "I am woman, hear me roar." I am man, hear me. I want to get let me court you
Right.
and whatever the word, I'm forgetting the word, seduce you
Right.
enough to get you to want to go up to the bedroom. Don't drag me up there, you know.
Right.
And by doing that, it just kind of killed my libido. I don't know, so.
What are your thoughts on AI and Chat GPT all of a sudden in the dating, getting into the dating world? I
I'm
was on
scared
this
of it.
podcast recently, and they were all thinking how great it was going to be, and I was like, "This is terrible."
I agree. I am very afraid of it. More for the fake aspect of it.
Right.
You're going to have AI creating fake profiles.
Have you
And
seen some yet? I've seen a lot.
I have not yet.
Okay. They're always 3 paragraphs long. They're very use words that normal people don't use. They're very fake looking. Yeah.
And what about the pictures?
I mean, the pictures are fine. The pictures are probably a real person, but just had ChatGPT write their profile for them.
Yeah.
So now you don't even get a sense of how they write, or can they spell, or some things
So-
that you can just gather.
If you initiate contact with this person, are you chatting with a bot, with an
Probably.
AI? Oh, okay.
That's been a complaint also, where they're using their bots to chat back and forth, and they actually meet up, and it's like,
So,
wah, wah. Like, now what do we say to each other?
so it's not a scam. It's somebody
It's not a scam.
who's
It's people-
lazy and doesn't want to create his profile, so he uses ChatGPT to create his profile or her
It's
profile.
the profile and then the chatting also. It's like, hey, this girl said this. What do I say back? Say
Oh
this.
my God.
Oh, he said this. What do I say back? Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen this. Two
Oh.
bots are chatting with each other. Why is this so great? No, like I said, I was on this podcast going, no, this is terrible. We're trying to get to meet each other as humans in real life.
So what is he going to do when he does meet you? He's not going to have the
it goes
ChatGPT.
poorly. Right, it goes
Yeah.
poorly from what I've seen.
That reminds me of I forget the name of the movie. Is this Serial de Bergerac or who's the guy that was under the window of a woman, but he had somebody in the bushes telling him what to say?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It kind of
but
reminds
you-
me of this. All reminds me of Wall-E.
Yeah. Okay. If I can't have a conversation with you on text, I'm not going to be able to do it in a pub or something. And if my
getting out of
ChatGPT is, no, it doesn't work for me. So
I'm trying to get people to meet up in real life. Use apps for a gateway to meet up in real life. That's really should be.
I agree. I agree. The dating apps are a tool to bring us together more quickly than not, and it's unfortunate that people are using it for all the wrong purposes these days.
Exactly.
And so, I know that I heard you talk about people being verified. So you could be verified, and then the person could swap out everything.
That's what I've heard. That even the little verification check mark you can get around that pretty easily.
Yeah. And I look for the verification when I'm swiping, or if a person likes me and it says unverified, I will not talk to them because I don't know who's behind that and yada yada yada. So
there's a new it's just, people think this is like secret and it's not. It's called Are We Dating the Same Guy on Facebook, and they're amazing. It's saved so many women so much time. That you put someone on this Facebook page and say, hey, has anyone gone out with this guy? Because honestly, it's like the same 1,000 guys over and over. I'm in a city of 5 million people, but it's probably the same 1,000 guys. And now you can post someone and say, and then people can kind of tell you their experiences with them. So it saves a lot of time.
it's almost like some of the so they're reviewing their date, and you can look up the review.
Yes, and not really. It's really more like he's married. The whole purpose is to say he's married, he's
Call him
dating
out.
my friend. People really don't get on there and say this was a terrible date. It's not what it's for. It's for this guy's has 7 DUIs. This guy just got out of jail.
So it's more like the red flags.
It's more of the red flags. But if people had a good experience, they put that on there too. I went out with him. He just wasn't my guy, but he was a really good person. So it's kind of handy.
Okay. All right, Katie. Wow, some you've already educated me. There's stuff I didn't even know about. But I've been living under a rock for 3 years, so.
You're probably better off.
Yeah. I keep, you posted something on your group, I think today or yesterday or something about being stuck. I'm enjoying the single life, but I would like to go out and meet somebody, and I'm right stuck in the middle.
I am. That's where I am too. I'm in that middle world.
Me too.
I'm kind of, Andrew. It took me, the guy that just disappeared after a year. It took me a while to get over that. I guess 6 months.
Well, I just took a year off from the last relationship because it just blew my mind what she did to me, and I needed to. I wasn't. Like I told you, I almost went right back out there again, and by doing that, you're just repeat. It's that definition of insanity: repeating the same behavior over and over, expecting different results, and it doesn't work. So I took some time off, at least this time. Right. But now, I never used to be single this long. Now I'm single for 14 months, and I'm getting comfortable in it.
Right? It's a slippery slope. I'm about there too.
So now if I date somebody and my weekends are set, like I get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, I go to my AA meeting, and 12 o'clock I play tennis, and 2:30 I go grocery shopping. And all of a sudden now, if I'm dating somebody, I may have to oh my God, where am I going to squeeze her in? It's like... Crazy.
I hear you, but we do have to, you come full circle and you realize there are good people out there. You can't live under a rock and be afraid just because you kind of got burned. There are good people out there. It's just getting harder and harder to find them.
I heard a very good phrase the other day, because there's this thing that I want to meet the perfect person. Nobody's perfect, but there is somebody perfect for you.
Right.
And if you really think about that phrase, that's true. Nobody's perfect, but there's somebody perfect for you. And so I think, and I'm a believer in the universe and all that. And if your mindset is positive and you put out positive vibes, and I'm going to be successful and I'm going to meet the woman of my dreams, but don't be aggressive about it. The universe will put that person in your path ultimately. So it's just a matter of patience. And in the meantime, I do a podcast while I'm waiting for that person. Perfect. So, Katy, tell us just quickly how we can find your Facebook group.
The Facebook group is just called Dating Debacles with an exclamation point, and it's public. I'm not looking for all these followers. I won't even know if you're on there or not. Pop in, tell us your story, hang out, get some laughs, teach us something. And then the app that I'm working on, it's called Leap Meet, and I've got a Facebook group on that also, but that's really more just to alert people when it does launch. I thought it would be this year, and it's just not going to be. So. And what are you going to call it? It's called Leap Meet, 2 words. Oh. But yeah, I don't love the name. Leap was taken, so I had to add something on the end of it.
Okay.
But anyway, there's a Facebook page for that too, and it's coming. It's just identifies who's around you, and it's going to be a lot of fun when it does come out. Yeah.
And of course, you'll come back and tell us all about it when it does, right?
I will. We're going to meet everybody on the pickleball court or something. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, this pickleball thing has become like COVID.
Crazy, right?
It's contagious. I know. I play tennis, so
we're junking up your tennis courts is what we're doing.
You are. Every time I go to the club on Sundays, there's 2 more courts now with the blue lines and the little nets, and I'm like, oh my God, 2 more courts are gone.
The one down the street, they ripped them all out to put in more pickleball courts. I mean, they're going to redo the tennis courts too, but they're reconfiguring to make some more space.
Our municipalities are going to have to figure out a way to make it easier for both, because you don't take away my tennis court. But I've had friends ask me to come play pickleball, and
it's beneath you. It's okay.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No, it is. We can't play tennis, but everyone can play pickleball. It's just It's just,
and I have nothing against it. It's probably like some of these other sports that I don't grasp the concept of it, but
no. If you can play tennis, stick with that. The rest of us who can't, we'll play some pickleball.
Okay. Katy, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Fun.
Yeah, it was, and we'll I am on your group, so we'll keep in touch.
Okay.
and we'll have you back soon, okay?
All right, sounds good. Hang in there.
I'd like to thank Katy so much for joining me. You know, I had heard about Katy's Dating Debacle Facebook group, and of course, I'm still trying to get my story out there. And I went to Katy's Facebook group and I said, "Hey, Katy, I'm a podcaster and I have a crazy story, and can I post it?" And she had listened to my podcast. Or she had listened to an interview I had done on another podcast, and she said, "Absolutely, tell your story." And that's the beginning of our relationship with Katy. So anyway, again, thank you, Katy. You're doing a great crusade. That crusade word keeps coming up. So this is the part where I beg of you to take 1 minute and scroll down to the bottom of this episode or the show, and if you're on Apple Podcasts, you can leave 5 stars and a review, and on Spotify you can leave stars, although I heard recently they're allowing you to leave reviews now. I have not had confirmation on that. Anyway, and or tell a friend. Please pass this podcast along. As I say, there's got to be somebody in your life who's not doing well in a relationship or struggling, dating, whatever it is. They might benefit from this show. And folks, I want you to listen to these episodes and then go back and listen to an episode I did 9-10 months ago. It has amazed me that I've come out of the fog. I am no longer bitter and resentful, and I'm now starting to really enjoy these episodes. I'm having great guests, and we're connecting, and I'm networking, and it's just all one big fun journey, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Okay, here comes my pitch. If you have to make a choice, if you need to make a choice, if you're dating and you need to ask yourself, is this person the right person for me? I urge you to give it some serious thought so you do not fall into the pit trap that I fell into. Seriously, think about it. Until next time, ciao.